break up. Those two words gave them an even bigger shock. Jin Yazan warned Xia Zibai about the man who looked for her, but Xia Zibai revealed he was just the owner of the restaurant where she worked. Before Jin Yazan could respond, Xia Zibai assured her she wouldn't see him again, as he had been caught for illegal activities. Break up. Those two words gave them an even bigger shock. There was no way they would have expected Xia Zibai and Yang Xuan to secretly get into a relationship and then secretly break up. Indeed, never judge a book by its cover. Seeing the looks on their faces, Jin Yazan was inwardly pleased, but she put on a worried look instead. Zibai, the man who looked for you previously is a man of complicated background. He doesn't fit in with our circle. Yang Xuan treats you well. You shouldn't let him down. As the people pondered on it, they were taken aback right away. There was a great deal of information in those words. Xia Zibai had cheated on her boyfriend with a man of complicated background. Didn't that mean she was someone's mistress? The students, who were yet to step into the outside world, wore a disgusted look on their faces. It had occurred to them as something revolting. As innocent as they could be. Xia Zibai looked at Jin Yazan with the shadow of a smile. She would definitely have been victimized by Jin Yazan's accusation and be rendered speechless if she were herself from her previous life. She had been too silly, hadn't she? But if she got swindled again this time, that would be very stupid of her indeed. Jen, how could you say that? When did I ever get in touch with people of complicated backgrounds? Don't you speak recklessly? Didn't the man look for you often back then? I think I saw him giving you money. I shouldn't have spilled that. As she spoke, she even put a hand over her mouth, looking as if she had made inappropriate remarks. The rest of them drew in a sharp breath. She really did become a mistress. The disgust in their eyes grew more intense when they looked at Xia Zibai. Xia Zibai chuckled all of a sudden. Oh, Tilda, I think you must be talking about the owner of the restaurant where I work, aren't you? How would I know who he is? How could you not know? Xia Zibai interrupted her in shock. You have been to the restaurant where I work, and you have seen the owner. Before Jin Yazan could answer, she went on. But it's understandable. You were busy, showing your affection toward Yang Xuan back then, and you couldn't care less about anyone and anything else. That's why you don't remember him. Jin Yazan was stunned for a moment. Before she could argue about showing affection, Xia Zibai put on a serious look. But rest assured, I won't be seeing him anymore. Why is that? Jin Yazan subliminally asked. Because he was caught. What? Jin Yazan was dumbfounded. Why? He put opium husks in meat, and that is an illegal act. Someone reported him, and he's in jail now. Jin Yazan inhaled a sharp cold breath. Opium husks. They were in high school. Sure enough, they knew what those things were. Everyone was frightened. Yeah, the meat that you always consume. There are lots of opium husks placed in it. I heard that it gets you addicted. Xia Zibai explained in a serious manner. Addicted? Jin Yazan's face turned pale. Yes. It's better for you and Yang Xuan to get a checkup. I'm not sure if it poses harm to your health. Xia Zibai put on a look of concern, and then it turned into a smug one. Luckily, I got the salary which he owed me for 3 months before he was caught, or I would have to feed on soil now. The rest of the people couldn't help but be curious. You worked there for a long time. Didn't you consume the meat they sold? Forget it. Xia Zibai ruefully shook her head. The owner was super stingy. As workers, we only got to eat vegetables and bean curds. Meat was a luxury that we couldn't afford. She looked toward Jin Yazan again. Jen, I have treated you and Yang Xuan like what? 50 or 60 meals each, and every meal consisted of those meats. I think it is best for the two of you to get a checkup. As she finished, the bell rang. The teacher happened to walk in at that time, and the crowd dispersed. Jin Yazan had a very awful look on her face. Although the class had started, many of them were still playing back Xia Zibai's words in their minds. Now that they thought it through, they were all shocked by the huge amount of information spilled during the conversation. Jin Yazan claimed that Xia Zibai and Yang Xuan were a couple, but Xia Zibai had hooked up with someone rich, so she broke up with Yang Xuan. But then Xia Zibai said that Jin Yazan and Yang Xuan were a couple, that the two of them patronized her workplace often, and that she paid for their meals. And due to the excessive consumption of meat, Jin Yazan and Yang Xuan could be having some health problems. These pieces of information befuddled them. Who was actually speaking the truth? However, judging from Zia Zibai's and Jin Yazhan's reactions, they tended to believe more in what Zia Zibai had said. Zia Zibai used to be introverted and timid in the past, and no one had ever seen her with Yang Xuan. Wasn't it funny to call them a couple out of nowhere? Besides, all that Zia Zibai had eaten, worn, and used were visibly wretched. Apart from her sudden change of appearance today, the rest of her remained the same. If she had hooked up with someone rich, she wouldn't be wearing clothes and shoes that cost no more than $200 altogether, would she? Looking at Jin Yazan, on the other hand, she had a pale look on her face and a restless, uneasy look in her eyes. Something surely wasn't right with her. While the teacher was writing on the board, the students started passing notes as if they had gone insane. The love and hate between the three of them began escalating. It was a huge gossip. Seeing all the great commotion around him, Tang Hua couldn't help but shoot a glance at Zia Zibai. He heard what Zia Zibai said too, and he was amazed by her change as well. Back then, she would never have retaliated like how she just did. In pleasant words, Zia Zibai used to be gentle and introverted. In honest words, however, she was timid and foolish. However, she was a changed person today. Most of all, after saying those words, she had her focus on the book right now. While everyone else was caught up in the agitation, Zia Zibai remained totally unruffled. She was reading the book with her head down. In the past, she started working right after finishing high school because of a series of incidents that had happened to her. In fact, even if she got accepted by any college, she would never have made it anyway because her parents wouldn't provide her school fees. Besides, her results were far from excellent because she had always been caught up with work. She had a long way to go if she were to get into a good college. After making her way into the entertainment industry, her high school results became a shortcoming of hers, which brought about a great deal of mocking and ridicules to her, especially when put in comparison with other female celebrities. She would receive dozens of negative comments. No matter how successful she became later, this would always be a regret to her. Therefore, she was determined to get into a top-notch college in this lifetime, not for anyone else but for herself. It was a joyous thing that her memory was so much better than before. Even though she hadn't been in touch with these contents for a long period of time, it only took her a glance or two to reactivate her memory. The things that she once found complex and abstruse seemed so much simpler now. If she continued this way, she would most likely get impressive results for this monthly assessment. As for Jin Yazan, who was sitting on tenterhooks, she did not grasp a single thing taught in the class. It was finally recess. The second the teacher stepped out of the class, she dashed over to Zia Zibai. Zibai, you're mistaken. Yang Xuan and I are not a couple. You and him are. Before she could finish, Zia Zibai cut her off. How could you not be? If you aren't with him, why would you become his guarantor when he borrowed money from me? Borrowed money? Guarantor? Everyone pricked their ears to listen in. It was a massive gossip. Jin Yazan was rattled. I did not become his guarantor, and he did not borrow any money. Jin Yazan, are you two trying to evade your debt? Zia Zibai's face finally turned glum.